What's something that's not right about your body, but not serious enough to go to a doctor about? I have a catch in my throat when I breathe. If I don't hit that catch, I feel like I haven't gotten enough air. This means I take huge, deep breaths all the time, and it gets even worse with exercise. Doc says it ain't asthma, and he can't do anything about it, so I just gave up on finding an answer. I have a similar issue, but it's intermittent. I've come to the conclusion that it's worse when I'm feeling anxious. Triggers the constant need to yawn as well. Sometimes I suddenly hear the void of nothing in one ear, and then sound slowly readjusts over a couple seconds. And sometimes I notice that my eyes don't see objects as the same colors. Weird, but not really a problem, so we just carry on. I've had a white section of hair since I was like 13. No clue why. It's just a part of my hair that grows without pigment. The rest is dark brown, almost black. I believe that's anime protagonist's disease. I experience something that's called exploding head syndrome. Something that is much less severe than the name might imply. Basically, sometimes, right as I'm on the edge of sleep, I'll hear a loud auditory hallucination that jolts me back awake. Pretty rare though, only happens to me maybe once a month. Sometimes I'll have one random hair that grows out of my arm that has the consistency of plastic and is almost clear looking. My mom gets it too. It's just one hair. I used to get that on my face. Every month or so it grew out of my chin cheek area. It stopped appearing after a few years, which is good cause it would itch. I have a minor issue in my right knee, a third, bit tiny, nipple under my normal sized dried one, which is slightly higher place than the one on my left, asymmetrical abs and a slightly blurry vision in my left eye. Not necessarily wrong, but weird I guess. You should see a doctor about the eye thing. Play your cards right and you could come out of this with a fully justifiable monocle. The texture of the skin on my right palm changed after I was sick back in March. Sometimes it's bubbly and really itchy, sometimes it looks just really tight and glossy, and sometimes it's so dry that the skin is cracking up. I can definitely see a difference between the right and the left one. The little roads, fingerprints on the palm, on my right palm aren't as visible anymore. That sounds very much like dyshydrotic eczema. I had it when I was pregnant. It sucks. I used to have a hedgehog named Velcro. I'd let him run around on my bed. One morning I slid out of bed and got a sharp pain in my left butt cheek. I walked to the bathroom and saw that I had a ½ inch of quill lodged firmly in my haunch. I pulled out what I could and thought I got it all. It wept a few times and eventually healed. It'd been 20 years, and I still have a scab on my butt that falls off once a month and comes back in a few days. I can feel there's something deep under the skin, but because of the bad angle, there's no way I can take care of it without a dermatologist's help. That would drive me insane. I would have no choice but to see a dermatologist. There's an indent on my right foot where a horse stepped on it. I never went to a doctor about it and I assume it is in fact broken, but it's been almost 20 years. I had an extra set of wisdom teeth that were hidden and behind that weren't picked up by x-rays. The dentist only found them when doing a routine extraction of my normal wisdom teeth. They were like tiny baby teeth that weren't fully developed. The dentist said that he'd never seen that before. He wasn't a young guy either. When I blow my nose, my left eye bubbles from the corner, like air coming through. Freaks me out every time because it feels so weird. The nasolacrimal duct is what drains your tears from eyes to nose. If you generate enough pressure you can blow air back up it. I'm 90% certain I have vitiligo, but I'm a pale butt Slav and I can only notice it on my nether regions because it makes a patch of my pubes blonde. I think this summer I should get a tan to confirm this. When I was in elementary school I had a pair of blue shoes that I refused to get rid of, so I wore them even though they were a little small, and now my big toes are curved. My big toe is super far from my second toe cause I grew up in the south where people live in their rainbow flip-flops. I have a singular, white eyelash on one of my eyes that grows really quickly and gets so long it'll get in my actual eye, and I need to cut it every couple of months to keep it short. I had a hair like that on my upper arm, would grow like a head hair until I would pinch it off, was there for like 5 years then disappeared without a trace. just as I was getting fond of him. My collarbone is always sore, to the point that it keeps me up at night. I guess I technically did go to a doctor. I went right after it started hurting and they accused me of drug seeking. That was a year and a half ago. I'll just live with it. I had a similar issue that had been bothering me near my sternum for months. My doc recommended magnesium supplements. After about a month of taking them daily, I felt normal again. You know that little flap anchoring your tongue to the bottom of your mouth? Mine's abnormally short, so I can't stick my tongue out as far as the average person. Technically it was a doctor who told me I had that in the first place. I hadn't ever noticed it on my own, and they were trying to examine my throat for unrelated reasons and were getting annoyed that I wouldn't stick my tongue out farther as instructed. They eventually realized it wasn't just non-compliance and diagnosed the issue, then just kind of put up with a suboptimal throat view. But it's not what I was there for. Plus they said corrective surgery is an option, and I've never cared enough to follow up on that, so I'm counting it. Surgery for a tight frenulum is a seriously easy surgery that can be done in the office. If you'd want it, it could be fixed in like 5 minutes. Just in case you've never heard that before. I have a birth defect in my sternum called pectus excavatum, aka funnel chest. Look it up, it's interesting. My sternum is not shaped normal. It caves in, creating a funnel in my chest. Since I'm female, it's not entirely noticeable, but it can be felt. And I can hold a puddle of water in it. It does limit the space in my chest cavity, so I can feel when something isn't right with my heart more than most and can make my claustrophobia worse. But other than that, it doesn't cause many issues. I have looked it up and the procedure to fix it doesn't seem worth it and is usually done for cosmetic reasons, so wouldn't be covered by insurance. My fiance has this. It doesn't bother him, but he sees a doctor every 6 months to make sure his heart is okay because it is super close to the bone. I mean, does being a dwarf count? I'm technically disabled and malformed, but there's nothing to be done about it. Just living my life, really. At least you're the wizard of the 12th realm of FCIs. I've got what's called choroidal nevus, which means I have freckling on my eyeball. Found out when I finally went to an optometrist after 5 years for a new prescription. It doesn't and won't affect my eyesight or anything. It's just a little dot you can see when they do a scan. Me too. They check it when I go in, as you can get skin cancer behind your eyeballs, where the freckle lives. Wear your sunglasses. I have a hard time discerning dream from reality since real life is so dreamlike and foggy and dreams are so vivid. Have read its Dissociation from Depression but never really talked to my psych about it. Depersonalization and dissociation are no joke. Definitely talk about it. I've struggled for years and am just now learning some coping mechanisms that help. If I eat eggs, I become incredibly sick, to the point where my stomach is in agony. I'm on verge of throwing up and I can't move. I simply just stopped eating eggs and haven't had any issues since. But the weird part is I can eat cake and anything with eggs mixed into it, but not eggs by themselves. Fun fact, eggs that have been baked thoroughly at a high temperature are less likely to cause a reaction than straight up eggs. My kid's allergic and they've got us doing allergy challenges with baked egg and a cake to try and get him over it quicker. The first day of my period is living death. I'm usually fine in the early morning, but in the later morning, I get extremely nauseated and really bad diarrhea. I'm on the toilet switching from mouth to rear, too quick to flush the toilet most of the time. I can't swallow food or water, BC, it's so painful. This is accented by intense lower back pain, ramming headaches, extreme dizziness to the point of fainting, and stabbing cramps. The cramps are newer since I never had cramps during my period when I was younger. I've been to the hospital on more than one occasion, but the doctors just say I need more electrolytes. I drink electrolyte water before I get my period, but it doesn't seem to help. If it happens before work school, I just cancel because it may last a few hours or a day. It's absolutely awful, and each time it happens, I just pray that I die instead of enduring this torture. Please go see a female obgyn. You could have cysts or endometriosis, or some other treatable issue. FFS. Find a doctor that will put more thought into it than telling you to drink Gatorade. That's ridiculous. You can and should be treated. This isn't normal. You don't deserve to be in pain. And it isn't something you should have to live with. My big toe sticks up. Out of nowhere. I have to think to push it down. Sometimes have to use other foot. It's from a stroke. Similarly, not from a stroke. But my right shoe always ends up with a worn out hole on top from my toe poking up. Got a hairline fracture on my shoulder blade years ago that I never treated. From time to time I get a tingly sensation in it, but it's not painful or anything. I get weird tics sometimes, I jolt sometimes. But I don't think that it's as serious as to rate as the main tic I have is that I blink weird. I try to control it in public but it gets really uncomfortable when I go too long consciously trying to keep it at bay, so I just let it do its thing. And keep my head down sometimes and work school. Someone will catch me doing it and I'll have to come up with some weird excuse like I'm just squinting or I just thought I saw a spider and had to look closer. I don't even know if this is something you'd go to a doctor about even if it was Tez, but man, I get annoying. Same, not so much involuntary, but it gets more and more uncomfortable the longer I hold off on performing the tic or action. I could spend a long time listing the little tics I had in my lifetime. Other than looking weird, they don't affect my ability to live and work and care. Therefore no need to treat, but I do wonder if it is to TTEs related. My girlfriend is a doctor, so I win by getting to unload all of my minor concerns onto her. My heart just twitched. Am I dying? Sometimes when I bend my knee like this, it hurts. Is that normal? Would you say my bad memory is still within a normal range? I've got this thing in my cheek. It's been there since I can remember, and nobody knows what it is. It's about the size of a tooth, but not as hard, and I can't move it back and forth. It's funny whenever I get x-rayed and the doctors ask me about it. What is that? I know. You know. I know. My brother had something similar. It turned out to be a rare cancer caused by a birthmark he had as a child that disappeared. The doctors removed half of his face. He's had about 8 major operations since and chemo and radiation. It was scary stuff. Every time I walk from a warm space to a cold space I gag. Not enough to bring anything up, but enough to stop my walking or talking and attract attention. For instance, if I'm in a nice warm living room and go to take my dog out at night where it's cold, gag time. Out of the car in the morning to walk into work, gag time. I've asked my doctor and she has no idea what it could even be, so I've just dealt with it. Honestly, this is one of the best in this thread. How absolutely odd and also so noticeable to others. I'm cackling RN imaging myself in this situation, but I'm sorry you have these reactions. This crap would pee me off if I lived it. I found out when they took my appendix that my uterus is tilted backwards. I thought that's why my periods hurt so much, but the cramps went away when I started birth control. It might not make much difference, but at least we're not planning on having kids, so I don't need to worry. My mother had that. I exist because a doctor told her it made her infertile, so she didn't use birth control. My toenails kept splitting. This was the best thing to ever happen to me. I had at least 8 diagnosed disorders. I took 12 daily medications, costing $40 every day, Canadian prices. I saw about 30 specialists over the last decade, and they were pretty much stumped. About once a month, a toenail would split. For years I just cut it off and moved on. In September, my girlfriend saw this and said, "Your toenails shouldn't split that much, or at all." So I looked it up, expecting it to be a medication side effect. It wasn't. Iron deficiency was a possibility. I ignored it initially because I'm not a woman or vegan. The other things I looked into didn't pan out, so I came back to iron deficiency. Symptoms including split toenails, cold hands and feet, extreme fatigue, diagnosed in me as idiopathic hypersomnia, maybe osteoporosis, aggravated bipolar disorder, aggravated epilepsy, aggravated chronic pain, blurred vision, headaches. IT's all there. I'm slowly reducing my medications in exchange for $0.05 day of iron. I sleep about 8 hours of sleep every night instead of 12 and don't need freaking speed to wake up in the morning. I've had 2 headaches since mid-October. Normally it would be closer to 30. We have an explanation for osteoporosis, so maybe I don't have to be on cancer-causing meds for life. My back pain is improving. It's a whole new goddamn world. Because my toenail split. I have a birth defect. Roof of my mouth ain't right. Nobody ever caught it until I was 20. I think my sinuses are weird too because COVID tests are very bad. I don't really have a speech impediment except sometimes my RSW. The roof of my mouth is higher than normal. Spent my childhood in speech therapy and R's still come out as W's of I'm talking too fast and not thinking about it. I'm super prone to ulcers. If it gets bad enough I get medication, but usually I just recognize the symptoms and know it's diet time again. Let me tell you, it sucks not having anything spicy or greasy or acidic. Those are my favorite things, but my tummy won't have it most of the time. Can't even have raw veggies and I'll loaf salad. This thread is oddly comforting. I find these little corporeal testimonies so intimate and endearing. Behold, our humanity. We're weird and beautiful. Shows you what we're missing on TV and Instagram. Sometimes my vision will go black. I'll start to feel a little weird, it will fade out, but I can't move around and hear perfectly fine. That's not good. Tell a doc. My heart beats the wrong way. Didn't even know that it was a thing until it was mentioned during a checkup. It doesn't cause me any ill effects, so it's not really a big issue. I've rolled my ankles so many times that they no longer really swell when it happens anymore. They just roll. I flop over. Then I'll limp for a day and it's business as usual. Ah yes, I too have ankles composed entirely of scar tissue. I have cravings for lemon pledge, fabric softener sheets, laundry detergent, wet sponges, dirt, and tons of other cleaning products. I don't act on it, so it's whatever, but God, sponges sounds good right now. Sounds like pica. I have 19 lipomas all over my body, mostly on my arms, legs and torso. Most are about the size of a pencil erasers, but I have a large one on my arm and one in my thighs that's about the size of a quarter, and it's noticeable, but the others you can't visually see really, only feel. I've told numerous doctors who do not seem to care. Apparently it's just aesthetic. They remove lipomas regularly on the show Dr. Pimple Popper. I'm only frisky like once every 5 days. There can be little weeks that go by where I'm just not into it. Don't even watch P. I sleep well, exercise 5-6 times a week. I'm not stressed, and I'm a guy in my late 20s. It's literally ruined relationships for me. There's nothing I can do about it. Doctor says my T levels are normal range. Dude, that's pretty normal. I know a lot of guys like that. It's okay to not want sex. I sometimes get a sharp pain in the lower right part of my back. It makes me unable to walk properly when it happens, but just doesn't feel worth looking up. I probably have a weak back. It just be like that sometimes. If you can, do core exercises. They suck, but your core stabilizes everything. I have chronic, occasionally debilitating back pain. Lifted a couch wrong when I was 19. Yeah. And it didn't really let up until I started taking care of my tum. My heart beats up to 205 BPM at times. It comes out of nowhere and it has lasted up to 25 minutes before. Also, sometimes I get a sharp pain that feels like what I can only describe as a lightning bolt on the left side of my chest. Pretty sure there's something going on with your heart. Should probably bring that up to a doctor if you can. Is it weird to talk about my period? They're all freaked up and it's annoying, but I don't feel like it's something I need to bother the doctor about. It's never weird to talk about your period. A gynecologist's job is literally talking about periods and vaginas all day. My brother stabbed me with a coloring pencil when I was 5. It was pulled out, but I have had a teal spot about the size of a pea since then. I'm 31 now. Free tattoo. My chest sometimes hurts like a mini heart attack, but only when I get super baked. I assume my doctor will just tell me to quit getting super baked. Can confirm, that is what they will tell you. If it gets worse, maybe consider stopping smoking pot. Though, I was fine for years until it started triggering panic attacks just about every time. I've got a weird dent in my skull. I'm missing a ball. My knees always crack when I squat. Weird red spots on my torso. Not zits, not melanoma, not freckles. No feeling on the lateral side of my left thumb. A gap in my 2 front teeth I can fit a medium guitar pick through. I burp all the time. I don't think my epiglottis works right. And my nips are slightly too big, like toonie sized. It's whack as F, but it's my body and I like it. I love how precise this is. The nail on my left big toe grows for a bit, gets infected at its base, detaches from the nail bed, and then a new one grows behind underneath the old one and pushes it out like a tooth. This has been going on in a cycle for 5 years now after an injury playing floor hockey in high school gym. I actually did see a podiatrist at first, but after many failed treatments he decided that I could have surgery to remove the nail permanently or just let it happen. So here we are. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.